Let's be honest, for way too long, risk management has felt like a chore, right? Just this box-ticking exercise we do for compliance. But in the world we live in today, that passive approach, well, it's just not going to cut it anymore. We're about to look at a framework that totally flips the script, turning risk management from this defensive, reactive thing into a strategic tool that actually helps you create value.
So I really want you to start by asking yourself this simple question. Take a look at your own organization and just think, are we ready? Because the reality is, the whole nature of risk has fundamentally changed.
I mean, just look at what we're all up against. These aren't just separate, isolated problems anymore. You've got AI-powered cyber attacks, supply chains that feel like they could snap at any moment, totally new reporting rules, and this constant battle for talent. And here's the kicker. They're all connected. They cascade. A geopolitical event over here can trigger a supply chain crisis, which then opens up a huge cybersecurity vulnerability. The old way of looking at risk in neat little silos, it just can't keep up. And that, right there, is the core issue. The methods we used yesterday, where we put every risk in its own neat little box, they are completely obsolete. These threats are all converging, and that demands a completely new way of thinking, a new blueprint for how to be resilient. And that blueprint is the Framework for Enterprise Risk Management, or ERM, from an organization called COSO. Now, its 2017 update is pretty much the gold standard around the world for navigating this modern complexity. And that's because it's not just about dodging bullets, it's about weaving risk right into the fabric of your strategy and performance. This quote really gets to the heart of the whole philosophy. The critical point here is that risk isn't some separate thing that happens to your business. It's a fundamental part of the journey of creating value. So the whole framework is designed to help you manage that risk within your own appetite to create, preserve, and ultimately realize that value.
Okay, so a super common question that comes up is how does this fit in with its sibling, the internal control framework? The easiest way to think about it is this. ERM is the strategic what. It's the big, all-encompassing picture of all your business risks. The internal control framework is the tactical how, the specific policies and controls you put in place to manage them. They're a team. They work together. They absolutely do not compete.
So how does this framework actually help you organize all this stuff? Well, it starts by breaking down your objectives into 4 key categories. You've got strategic, operations, reporting, and compliance. But here's what's so fascinating. In today's world, the lines between these are getting blurrier and blurrier. And this is where you can really see how modern risks just refuse to stay in one lane. Take AI, for example. The incredible speed of AI is a strategic risk, right? If you fall behind, you could lose your competitive edge. But the actual challenge of adopting it, that's both strategic and operational. It's this messy, blended nature that makes the old siloed approach so incredibly dangerous. This whole idea of blurred lines is perfectly captured by the massive shift we're seeing in reporting. We're moving from voluntary ESG reports to mandatory rules, all driven by this powerful concept called double materiality. All it means is that you don't just have to report on how the world affects your bottom line, you also have to report on how your business affects the world. That is a complete game changer. And you know what? Even good old compliance is changing. Regulators are moving away from those static checklists. New standards are actually forcing companies to adopt a more risk-based, proactive approach. So in a way, all this external pressure is now reinforcing the very principles of ERM, making a dynamic program a flat-out necessity, not just a nice-to-have. All right, so we have the objectives, we get the idea. But what's the engine that actually powers this framework? Let's dive into the components that make this a living, breathing system for building resilience. To really wrap our heads around a core concept of modern ERM, let's borrow a really powerful idea from the world of finance: modern portfolio theory. You'd never just look at one stock by itself, right? You look at how it fits into your entire investment portfolio to balance out the overall risk and return. Well, COSO ERM applies that exact same logic to your entire company. It argues that you simply cannot look at risks one by one anymore. You have to see the whole portfolio. And this is what that portfolio view looks like in action. It's all about understanding those cascading effects we talked about earlier. When you can see how all your risks are interconnected, you can make smarter decisions, put your resources in the right places, and really optimize your organization's entire risk-return position.
This is what takes ERM from being a chore to being a true strategic discipline.
Of course, you can't have a portfolio view without the right intelligence. You're not going to do this in a spreadsheet. This is where technology becomes your absolute best friend. Modern GRC platforms pull all your data together, continuous monitoring gives you real-time insights, and AI can even help with predictive forecasting. It's what flips your risk program from being reactive to proactive. So, if technology is the engine, then governance is the chassis, the frame that holds the whole thing together. And the 3 lines model provides a really clear structure. The first line, that's your operational managers, they own and manage the risk day to day. The second line, think of your risk and compliance folks. They provide oversight. And the third line, internal audit, gives that independent assurance that the whole system is working. It's designed to break down silos and make sure everyone knows who's accountable for what. So, after all this, the framework, the technology, the governance, what's the ultimate payoff? What does this all actually achieve? It's about something much, much bigger than just staying out of trouble.
This really brings us to the single most important shift in mindset. See, traditional risk management aims for 100%, that is, preventing 100% of a potential loss. But a modern ERM program, it aims for more than 100%. The goal isn't just to protect the value you already have, it's to use risk insights to generate new value, creating a real return on your resilience efforts.
So here it is. This is your blueprint. Treat technology like a strategic partner, not just a cost center. Build a culture where everyone feels ownership of risk. Redefine your governance so it's collaborative and integrated. And always, always aim beyond simple compliance to find that sweet spot where risk and opportunity meet to create sustainable value.
Which really leaves us with one final thought. Take a hard, honest look at your own organization and ask this question. Are we just managing risk, or are we creating value from it? Because in today's world, the answer to that question is the difference between surviving and truly thriving.